will you guys join my call, my campaign to make Summoners great again? I'm tired of playing games and the Summoner class just being kind of an afterthought. I'm playing a lot of Core Keeper Summoner, which is what has been inspiring me to think of this. And my biggest issue with the Summoning class is that my fantasy of how that class is played isn't matching up to how it actually plays. And I think a couple of reasons for that is that my fantasy is that I believe that a summoning class should have a micromanagey aspect to it. It should have a big, varied army. And I'm thinking of like a necromancer. So I'm really thinking of other things such as like maybe a ritual that I have to perform to actually summon my creatures. Or even like if I was a demon handler, I would imagine that I have to do some kind of ritual to make sure that the demon doesn't kill me. So that's kind of my fantasy. And when I play the summoning class, it doesn't actually line up like that, right? I think in most games, what ends up happening is it's just a massive single unit army that has no direction, it just runs forth. And the interaction that I have in the game is that I just run around and I continually summon stuff while I avoid getting slain. To me, that kind of gameplay is just boring, uninteresting. Any other adjective that you can think of that has the same meaning as boring. And one of the biggest issues, I think, with the class itself is that it's kept weak due to it being too strong when it's paired with other classes. And that makes it so that there's not really any kind of big strength in the class, but there's also not really a big, huge weakness other than the fact that it's like a damage issue, right? It's kept inherently weak because it's too strong paired with other classes. And I think it's a little bit lazy of a way to design the class. It just feels like a supporting class. It feels like an afterthought. Like, oh no, we have to add this because people really like this. I think Terraria is the best case for that, being as it had the summons, then it added whips afterwards because it realized, oh, this class is incredibly boring when you don't do anything except for summon and run around. However, I still feel like that's not enough. And so it left me thinking, is there a way to fix the summoning class so that we can all enjoy it? And I think there is. I think one of the biggest things that I would change is if you don't have summoning gear, you should not be allowed to summon things. And I think the reason why you should add that is because otherwise all these other classes would become way too overpowered, right? A warrior that just adds additional damage and has long range for basically no danger, because as they can just summon something and just let it go do its thing. I don't think that's very healthy. And a ranger that has a free front line also, is that fun? I would say no, not really. And then I would say the same thing with the mage. Is it really fun when your class gets a free front line? And I will say, however, it does fit the mage archetype the best because of the fantasy of playing it out, right? Like you can very easily see like, oh, a mage, necromancer, oh yeah, it makes sense. However, if we're going to differentiate the two between summoner and mage, then I feel like they need to stand on their own 2 feet. And they need to have their own strengths, their own weaknesses. Otherwise, don't add the summoning class. Don't add variations for summoning class. Just instead, just make it a mage class and then nerf the damage on it. And that's my opinion on it, at least. I think another way that we can balance it, or to put some power back into the class, is by first adding some weaknesses. And those weaknesses to me are maybe something like adding a ritual, and that would take the power away, because now you can't just summon minions in the middle of a fight, right? You can't just say, oh, my minion is timing out or it's dead. Let me just summon one real quick. That makes it for really unoriginal gameplay, really. Like, I keep coming back to that same idea. It's unoriginal to just continually summon, not really do anything. I want to see something that inspires me. I feel like a ritual would do that, right? If I have to pre-plan, oh, I have to gather these herbs, I have to go to this specific spot, or it's got to be this time of day to summon this, or stuff like that. Like, to me, that also adds to that fantasy of not only the summoning class, but also like the mage archetype, right? I don't think a mage should just be I have mana, blah. I use mana, blah. Like, that's boring, right? So let's add some rituals. I think that would engage me a bit more. And I think another thing that would engage me is to have the summon class have minions that have HP pools. I think in too many games, the minions are just infinite HP, or they're based on a timer, right? I think that's fine. I think the timer's fine. The infinite HP, I think, is fine in situations. However, to me, it makes it rather, I would say, boring, just because you don't really fulfill that fantasy of the summoner. When I think of a summoner, like I said, I think of a necromancer, and so I think of the necromancer having all these minions that are kind of his front line for him, and the necromancer's either in some faraway spot or he's in the back line, right? And a minion without HP pools makes it so that all of the enemies just target you, and so that front line just is kind of non-existent. And I think that's kind of whack, to say the least. I think with those weaknesses that you add, that allows you to add some strengths into the character. And I think one of those strengths that you can add is something that Dota 2 has. And that is Dota 2 has jungle creeps. They're jungle creeps, which you can take over and you can command in certain situations. Some characters and items allow you to do that. They have an aura around them, like a buff that buffs you, either your mana regen, your armor, blah 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 blah. I think you can add that into the summon class, and that makes her a really engaging gameplay too, because now I'm thinking, oh, I want this minion because it's going to give me this buff. And you can balance that, I think, really easily. You can do two balance things depending on your game and how you envision it. For me, I really want varied armies, so I think the way that you should balance it is that those buffs should not stack. You instead get one buff for that minion and make some of those buffs minion specific, make some of those buffs player specific, depending on the power and the strength of where you want that to be at and what you prioritize. Like, for example, a damage buff towards all your summons might be really strong, but instead maybe you just do a damage buff towards players that pushes you a bit more to the summoning support role, instead of, oh, I summon to deal a lot of damage, right? But that's just like a side tangent, and I don't want to get super into that. But adding those buffs, those auras, I think would be really helpful. I think the second way that you can balance it is you can instead say you have buffs that stack. Instead, make it so it's like incrementally, but like the more you stack onto it, the more it just like chops it off, right? So like, say it's a 50% damage boost. This is just a random example, that's a lot, but 50% damage boost, the next one would only give you like a 15% damage boost. And the next one after that would only give you like a 5%, and it'll just like keep trimming it. That way you can't just become super overpowered by stacking one minion. Because as I said, I don't like that. I don't like minions all the same minion. To me, that is uninteresting, and it makes me feel like, why am I a necromancer or a demon, right? There's all these different variations of demons and skeletons in the fantasy world. So why am I stuck to like just one because of a damage issue? Like, why don't we incentivize it in our gameplay for me to have a varied army? That's just my opinion. Also, adding these HP pools, I think, to me, adds elements of real-time strategy games, which I would think would be incredibly helpful. It's one of the best genres. It stands up the test of time. I think you see that because MOBAs are so popular and prevalent in games. Like, MOBAs have their ancestry in real-time strategy games, and so therefore I think we should kind of look towards that stuff and see what are they doing right. And I think one of the things they do right is like the summons. One of the things that I don't think that we should take away from the summoning class is its feeling of fun. And I think it is fun to just have a big army at times. So I don't want to take that away, but I just want to add to it. And one of the things I want to add to that is to be able to actually manage your minions. Now, I'm a big fan of micromanaging, as in like I take this minion and I click here and it goes there, or it does this. Like, I think that stuff's really engaging. However, I understand that a lot of games that we're going to be talking about, and for that has the summoner class, is going to be played on a console. And so therefore you're going to be limited with what you can do on that. So I think another thing that you can add is that you can just add instead a mindset for your minions. I don't know how to explain it other than that. And that is, as in, instead of it just attacking everything, instead it's protect me. So anything that attacks me, then you attack. Or in this area, attack that. Or prioritize ranged minions first, or prioritize defense, or whatever. The point is that you can add things in the AI to make it so that your minions aren't just the same attack pattern, that they do the same thing every time. That way you can add some diversity. And also, if we're talking about these varied armies, then you can set it up so that your front line is protecting you, kind of defending you, being that actual front line. And then you have stuff like your mages in the back line, maybe putting pressure on the enemy mages or the enemy back line or stuff like that. That kind of stuff I think just really draws me in. And I think it would resonate with a lot of people once they got past the initial learning curve of how to play that. I don't want to just add this managing to be a chore, to be like, oh, I have to do this, otherwise my minion is gonna die, and then I'm gonna have to do this 30-minute long ritual. Like, no, I don't want any of that. I want it to just feel fun and rewarding when I'm playing. So it needs to increase optimization, but not in a chore way, but in a way that rewards the player for playing the game as intended. Those are just some of the ideas that I have. I probably could come up with a whole list if I really put my mind to it. And if I had a specific game, I could probably dive into it and explain exactly why I don't like that. You can tell me if you want to see that from me down in the comments below. But really what I want to see from y'all in the comments is, do you agree with my take? Or do you have a different opinion? Or do you like some of the way the Summoner class is played? I'd really like to see those comments down below. Leave me a like, subscribe if you want to see my next video, which is going to be on the Core Keeper Summoner playthrough. I'm going to go do an entire playthrough on the Summoner class. So let me know down below with a comment, with a like, with a subscribe. Thank you and have a great day.